You want the best for your car? You already watch our tutorials.
So the best place for the best deal is to buy from the Mr. Auto app. Easy, fast, and with better prices than on the website.
You will find the bolt control arms used in the video exclusively on the Mr. Auto website and through the link in the description. Turn your engine off, pull up the handbrake, pull on the bonnet release lever and open the bonnet. In order to make changes to the control arms on your vehicle, you must lift the front of the car and remove the wheels. This will give you full access to the suspension system. Loosen the stud bolts on the front wheels. Raise the front of the vehicle and put it in the two-axle stance. We strongly suggest watching the tutorial, raising your vehicle safely before carrying out this step. You will then be able to take off the wheels. Don't forget to slide them under the vehicle. To make this process easier, we recommend unscrewing slightly the lock nut on the top of the shock absorber. This will give you the slack needed to make the future movements. To do this, we recommend watching the video How to Replace the Front of the Shock Absorbers Peugeot 207. To change the control arms on your vehicle suspension, you have to separate the gimbal from the steering knuckle. Using a hammer and a chisel, unscrew the hub lock nut. To be able to unscrew the hub lock nut, you have to stop the rotation of the disc. We recommend screwing back in the stud bolt on the wheel to avoid breaking the holding screw on the disc. Insert a thin flathead screwdriver that can slip in between the two sides of the disc. You have to insert it in front of the brake caliper mount so that it butts up against the latter. Using an iron bar and a 30mm socket, unscrew the hub nut without removing it. Unscrew the lock nut on the control arm ball joint using a 70mm offset wrench, a socket wrench and a 16mm socket. Then remove the screw. Using a fork, separate the ball joint of the control arm from the steering knuckle. Using a crowbar, fully lever off the control arm on the steering knuckle. Now, using a 16mm spanner and a T25 torque socket, release the holding lug nut on the tie rod. If you do not have a ball joint puller, take a hammer and hit the lug nut hard just at the end of the threading. The ball joint should move away from the pivot. Only tap on the tie rod end pivot if you're changing the tie rod end. Otherwise, you risk damaging the threading. Remove the hub lock nut. Lightly tap on the end of the gimbal with a snap ring to remove it. Remove the gimbal from the steering knuckle. Be careful to push the gimbal against the gearbox to avoid the oil in the box from seeping out.
En gros, quand tu vas sortir l'amortisseur du porte-fusée, il faut vraiment faire attention, sinon le cardan sort et là, toute l'huile de boîte va se mettre à couler et ça va être l'horreur. Primo, au cas où, place un bidon de récupération, on sait jamais. Et surtout, quand tu sors l'amortisseur, n'hésite pas à pousser le cardan dans son emplacement pour éviter que l'huile de boîte s'en aille.
You can now access the holding screws on the control arm. Brush and spray penetrating oil on the holding lug nuts on the control arm. Using a socket wrench and a 21mm socket, unscrew and remove the two holding screws on the control arm. You can now remove the control arm. Start by brushing, then greasing where the control arm will be placed to make it easier to install. Take the new control arm. You will find the bulk, parts and products used in the video on the Mr. Auto site and in the link in the description. Put the new control arm in place. Then, put the two holding screws in place. Finish off the tightening with a torque wrench. Grease the end of the gimbal. Slide the gimbal into the steering knuckle. Then, you have to put the control arm ball joint back into the steering knuckle. To do this, sand and grease the inside of the pivot, making it easier to put the ball joint in place. Reinsert the ball joint. Then, you will be able to easily put the screw back. You have to insert the ball joint exactly in the middle, neither too high nor too low, in order to line up the ball joint print with the screw. Screw the screw back in. Finish off the tightening with a torque wrench. Put the tie rod end back in place. During this operation, you will work on the steering system of your vehicle. Checks on tyre alignment, when carried out by a professional, will guarantee that your steering system has been perfectly aligned and is in good working order. Use the screwdriver technique again to stop the rotation of the disc and fix the lock nut on the hub. Tighten it using a hammer and a chisel. Put the wheels of your vehicle back on and lower it to the ground. Operation completed.
Hello, if this video helps you, like and subscribe.